Hi, my name is Piotr Kolonov and I'm the CEO at Dataedo. Welcome to my webinar on how to boost productivity of your data team. Over the last couple of weeks, many of us have found ourselves in a completely new environment, new reality, and we need to change the ways we work, or otherwise we won't be able to keep up the productivity, and we need to learn new ways of working. On this webinar, I'd like to share with you some tips of the things I've learned over the past couple of weeks, and also I'd like to show you how you can use our tool, Dataedo, to help your teams keep up the productivity or even boost it with the documentation. So I'll share a few tips and then I'll go into the practical how-to part. So this presentation will have following sections. First, I will tell you, I will summarize what I believe has changed and why remote work is different than what many of us are used to working in the office with our colleagues, with our people we used to sit desks next to each other. Then I will share a collection of tips. Those tips, they can be used by any team, not only data team, but I would like to focus on the teams that are working with data, BI, developers, analysts, and so on. Then I will show you the tool and how we can use it, how we can start the documentation, how we can leverage what are the practical steps you can do to implement the documentation in your team and organization. And then we can, I could answer questions if you have one. Over the course of this presentation, you can use the questions tab on the right hand side of your screen to ask the question. I will answer them at the end. You can also ask them towards the end of the video. Okay, let's dive into it. So what I think is different now than what was a month ago, 2 months ago. I think many of us have been forced to change the way we operate overnight. That's happened for us. I talked to a number of clients. They say the same thing. They often were not prepared for that. Even if you're using some collaboration tools, you have some processes in place. I think it took many teams by surprise. So there are at least two dimensions to that. One is the physical. You are no longer in the same office and desk as your colleagues. You are probably sitting at home, and it's even we have all those tools like email, chat, and phone, and so on. It's so much different. You cannot do just like what the guy tries to do on the picture. You cannot just ask your colleague about something. You can send them email. You can use chat. You can try to call them. But I think you found out that it's not as easy as it used to be. Another thing, it doesn't necessarily apply to the current situation, but many remote teams, they don't have the same working hours. So when you're in the office, you actually can see who's there. You can, people are more motivated to work, 9 to 5. And when the remote work is introduced, there's so much incentive to, have more flexible working hours. It's so much easier to go out to, do some shopping or something or sleep longer, and because there's no this oversight of your peers, your boss, or so it's not that easy to actually be on this in the same time online at the same moment. I'll share some tips how to make it work easier for you. Okay, so those are the two things I think changed the most. Another thing is I didn't put on the slide is you do not have the access all the time to everything you used to. We have these situations over here that some of the things are in the cloud, some of the things are in the office, and if the connection breaks for some reason, there's so many people trying to connect at the same time. So if it fails, you have a huge amount of people not being able to do their work for an hour, more, even a day. So that's another thing. Okay, so here are my tips. I've learned over the past couple of weeks. I read from some articles from some other people, because obviously everyone is sharing same they have the same observations. So let's go on. First tip I would like to sell you on this webinar is document your data. It's one of the things that teams overlook the most, I think. So you assume that you can figure out, that people can figure out the data themselves, how to find it, how to use it, or if they do not know, they ask the guy next, in the desk next to you. I think that right now it fails more than ever. It was never a good idea, but I think this is the time you should use to invest actually to document your data, to have a central repository and a collection of the knowledge about the data you have, because data is far from obvious. Tables are, have confusing names, fields have confusing names. There are multiple tables that seem to have the same information, like, I don't know, customer records or something. There are multiple databases, so data is far from obvious, and it was never a good idea to allow people to search for the same data over and over again and assume that they will have somebody to ask for those questions about. I think this is this crisis will change our attitude to many things. To remote work, that is one. To commuting to your job every day, I think that will change. And the other thing I hope will change is that companies will actually, and teams will appreciate documentation. So having knowledge within organization rather than in people's heads. Another dimension of that is some people are leaving organizations, for obvious reasons. This is a really hard time. So I think the pressure to document things is more than ever, and I think it's this is the time to actually implement it. You can use our tool for this, although there are some other options, including Excel or some other tools available. You should also document code. That is also very important. Document the part before was about the data structures, their purpose, and all the things you need to know. And you should also document everything that is processing this and generating this this data, like stored procedures in this case. Document everything you know, and document all the changes. Right, that's very important. Implement collaboration tools. That seems obvious, but I don't think many companies are using them extensively. Hard to tell. I think, yeah, Zoom, for instance, and Microsoft Teams are booming at the moment, and there's a good reason for that. I think they do their job pretty well, and I think you should really not only buy a subscription, but make it part of the ways you operate actually. So I would really advise to use extensive use of the chat software like Slack or Microsoft Teams over email. I think email fails, and use video conferencing to do meetings. That's a good replacement for face-to-face meetings, and also use calendar to show, for instance, who's available when and where. Share those calendars. Some organizations did that already. Some teams didn't, especially if you have developers who do not, their calendar is not so busy, probably, and they are sitting in one room. Right now, I think that's the good opportunity to actually implement it, to show hours where you're available when you have any kind of meetings, and actually make those calendars available to everyone in your team to know where you're available. Yeah, that's an extension of the previous point. Make it transparent for everyone to know where people are available. So there are a few things you can do. One is to have some kind of personal profile where everyone publishes where, in what hours they are available. Because I don't know how your team operates. Our team is very flexible on this, and we have people actually coming to the office at 6 a.m., which is crazy for me. There are some people coming at 10 or even 11. So when they are sitting in the office, it's they see who is available. But when you're remotely, it's really hard to tell. And so that should be like very easily accessible to know where people are working. Another thing, use those calendars. If there's something coming up and I don't know, we have a dentist in the middle of the day, that's easier than it used to be, right? Put that on the calendar, make it visible to everyone that you're not available. Use also Slack or Teams channel. Have a public channel where you publish all those changes. Say, okay, listen, I'm not feeling well today. I won't be working, or I'll be available, since 12 or something like that. Or even I've seen some teams advise to have check-in and check-out messages. So you just say, okay, I'm available, and when you go out or end your work, you say, okay, I'm gone. That way you can see, actually have the most up-to-date information about whether people are available. Can you ask them questions? Can you try to call them? Or things like that. Using technologies like Slack or Teams, you can create channels. Those channels are like, that's something that doesn't exist in email, or you can think about this like a forum that's dedicated for a specific purpose. And I would advise creating many of those channels and make the notifications voluntarily. I mean, that's the part of the platform. Create for different applications, different scopes. Make one for BI team, make one for people working on this application and or this particular domain. Make them public so people can actually look for information. But allow the elasticity to actually follow specific channel that you're interested in. Use video conferencing software and organize training sessions, and reach out to people who would be interested. Let's say you have a new person on the team and you want to provide a introduction to the data warehouse or something, some other application, and ask other people if they would be interested in this, and record this training session. It's easy with those we have today. You can then publish it somewhere on your intranet, and the benefit is that you don't have to repeat the session on and on for different people. You do it once, and then it's available, and it's for some people it's much easier to access knowledge that way rather than read through the documentation. Email. I'm not a fan of email. I think many people are not satisfied with this. It's so much easy. There's so much spam coming in, and And email is not the best. It's not the best tool to actually share the knowledge and search the knowledge. It's, I don't know how you feel, but for me it's really hard to find anything meaningful in all those messages I have in my inbox and archive. I would advise building a forum for specific applications and domains, and allow people to ask questions. In that way, questions get asked once, and people can actually, some experts can answer, other people can contribute, and that stays with your organization. You have you build your knowledge base, and people, rather than sending email to someone asking, where can I find this or that, they can first go to that forum. You can use different kind of tools. Dataedo will have this community feature available in a couple of months. We didn't foresee that. We would build it sooner. So you can use different. I put a Confluence as an idea. I'm not sure what other tools are there. I'm pretty sure there are many other tools. I would really advise building a forum where people can ask questions and others can contribute to those topics. That's so much better than email, especially for people who are not added to the thread. Get all your teams on board. I've talked to a number of clients, and they said that's what that's the way I see it. That quite often those teams, different teams, are working separately. So developers are busy doing the next big feature. They don't have much time to talk to anyone. BI team is trying to figure out the data that's there, the data warehouse they're working on. Same with data analysts. I think that today landscape, there are different teams and people that do not really collaborate. They do not exchange the knowledge. There are many reasons for that. Sometimes they're in different department and organization, and they don't have those relationships. Many people don't have time actually to answer all your questions. Let's say you have a new person on the BI team. I mean, if you have a development team that have built it, or data architect who has designed the data warehouse, it would be very time consuming to onboard every new person every time. That's why I think tools is one thing, but creating a culture where we actually collaborate on building a documentation and sharing knowledge is something is equally important. We want to build a tool that will help you with this, but that's a change you need to do within your teams and organizations. You need to actually make people exchange their knowledge more and share it in a place easily accessible. Don't leave it in their heads only. That doesn't work long term. And final tip: move to the cloud. I think many of you noticed that when you're in the office, everything works fine. Everything was designed for working from that particular place. You probably have some servers on premises. It was security issue as well to protect everything and do not allow it from accessed from outside. And right now, I think many companies and teams find it really painful. It happened for us also. When you have tools in the cloud, you don't feel the difference because it doesn't matter if you're working from home or from the office. But if we have some servers, some applications in the inside of our network, and that way have a bottleneck. If the network in your office fails for some reason, or a server requires a reboot, you find yourself in a painful situation where a lot of people cannot work for a couple of hours, and that's really painful. So I think the situation today will accelerate move to the cloud, and that applies to the data and tools as well. If you cannot access your BI tool, even if you have databases in the cloud, that doesn't really solve the problem. You still cannot work. Okay, so there were some tips. I think that they could be applied to many teams, not only data teams. I think there are some good tips you should consider implementing. Right now, I'd like to show you how you can document your databases with Dataedo and how to share it with your team. So, okay, let's jump into the list of the features first. I will briefly describe the things I think should be done, and then I will show you how to do it very briefly. So first thing I think should happen is you should create a central repository for the documentation. The Dataedo is built on this metadata repository where you can import all the different sources, all the different databases into one place and one database, and you can collaborate on the same data. Multiple people can connect to that. It doesn't necessarily need to be one repository. You can have different for different applications or departments, but the thing is, it should be accessed by not just one person, by many people, and it should be obvious where that is. Then you, when you imported the data, you should build subject areas. I'll talk about that later. Those are smaller pieces of the data. There's all those topics. You should start description of the data. In my opinion, you shouldn't start bottom up. You should focus on the identification of those areas, domains in your work, in whatever you do, and then you should then try and find specific tables and everything, all those technical assets, and then group it and link it into one topic, right? When you do that, when you identify those, another important thing is to assign owners. That's a really good tip in data management. I believe you should assign those owners not only for subject areas, but for every data element. Dataedo allows you to tag data elements like tables, columns, and some other elements with different tags and fields. And you can use it to indicate who is the owner of specific table. I think that's very important for data management. That way, everyone knows who created and who's responsible for a specific element of data, and that person should be the sole responsible person for updating and changing that. Yeah, that makes things so much easier, in my opinion. Once you did that, the person who is the owner should describe tables and columns. What's the purpose? What does it hold? Where does the data come from? Where is it used? And you can use the description field for that, and also provide an alias, and so a business name for this, column or table name, which are often very confusing. So Dataedo allows you to do that. Yeah, I'll show that. Then explain relationships between the tables. Then visualize it. And last point, share it. So that's the most important part. If you do it and you keep it for yourself, you haven't achieved a lot. Well, that's a very important step. The hard part is to document. But if you don't share it, then you didn't gain a lot. Okay, let me switch to the software. So this is Dataedo interface. As you can see, I've imported a number of database over here, and this is my repository. So that's where I keep all my data sources and their structures, their data elements. You can see that over here I have tables, right? When I click, I see the details of a specific table. Right. So you can see that this database is in particularly big one. I'm not sure if I have something bigger, but yeah, those are quite small. But some databases have thousands or even tens of thousands of tables. That's why we have created those so-called modules. We call them modules. They will be renamed to subject areas. Those are the things you let's choose this one. Those are those topics you should identify first, right? So over here we have people, human resources, manufacturing, and so on. It's up to you how you structure it. The point of this is to explain one particular topic and show where the data is. So over here you can visualize it with a diagram. You have a number, or maybe not here, but here you have a number of tables, views, and other elements. So you can see which elements apply to this particular topic. So let's say I want to find customer data. Then I would have customers subject area, and I will see which tables apply to that. Make it orders. Do I have orders? Yeah, purchasing, right? So I will see table called purchase order header and detail, right? And on this diagram, I will see how they are. So this is the relationship. So this is the red one is the actual purchase order. That way it's so much easier than to look for that in the thousands of tables. So the first step to do, identify those subject areas. Just click add to create new one. Then you can use the extended custom fields to identify who is the. It's called steward, but that could be that's just a label. You can use other labels like owner, data owner, whatever you like, architect, and then when you save it right on the list, you will see who's responsible for this particular subsection of your data. Oh, here I have the owner. I don't know why I didn't see it. So yeah, you can see some people, right? Then you can ask those people to provide a description of this module. You can paste content of your documents. This one's very short, but you can actually paste some diagrams, other images, tables, all kinds of content you could collect over here. And that way it's available when you share it, when you publish it. It's available over here, right? You have a description with a diagram and a list of specific objects, specific tables. So provide this information. This should be top level, like introduction, what it actually is about, what's the purpose of that, what are the key objects, and that's it. Then you can ask those people to visualize it with the diagrams. It's so easy when you create this module. You can simply add new tables to the diagram. They are then included in this documentation. When you save, it's already here. So it's a subsection, subset of your database. It's not full thing, because if you would show the entire diagram of your data, it would be so confusing. It won't tell you a story, and these modules are to tell you a story, to tell I mean people who will seek for answers. Then I told you owners should document, describe those tables. So over here we have a feature that shows you. Over here it's show progress, and if I click, I have different fields, but if I click the description, then I see, let's pick another one. Okay, so I can see that views in this module are not described, right? So if I see here 100%, it means that I have provided descriptions over here and over here. Okay, I see you have some questions. Okay, I see you ask some questions. I'll get back to this in a couple of minutes. Okay, so you can see here that the description is empty. So we have this feature called description suggestions. If I right click, I will see descriptions from other fields with the same name, like name, for instance. I can see that in specific tables that these descriptions were used. I can just, do a quick copy. That way I don't have to type in everything. That's particularly useful for all those columns called creation date and so on. Okay, so then owners should be documenting this, providing the descriptions. I mentioned also an alias, right? This is a database that has really nice names. I mean, it's not the case in many applications. There are many reasons for that. But let's say you have, in my example, they're all quite well documented. But let's say this table doesn't really hold customers because we use it for something else. We can use the title field to say, let's say it's a supplier, right? So I can show you the actual meaning of that rather than the technical, because you cannot never, well, theoretically you can, but it doesn't happen. You never change those names. Once they are applied, they are used in so many places that you never change them. That's why we have those business names, those aliases. You should use them to indicate the real purpose of that. The short name and the description is like a long explanation of the field, right? Okay, so we have descriptions, we have aliases. Another thing that's really important for the understanding of the data, actually. So descriptions are very important. And another thing is I'm not sure which one was that. Oh, okay, here are the relationships. So you need to understand how tables are related. You can see over here, I have a table called stores with column city and cities, and this is probably primary key. But it's not related. Like it's only logical foreign key. It hasn't been defined in the database as a foreign key. Like in this case, when you saw this diagram, you can see those links, right? But this comes from the foreign key in the database. Most of the databases, I did the research maybe 2 years ago. Most databases do not have foreign keys within the engine. So when you import this or you check it with any other tool, you do not know, well, that this contact ID is related to our company, whatever is linked to this particular field. It has really nice naming right over here, but it's not the case quite often in real life scenarios. And in particular, data warehouses don't have foreign keys for performance reasons, and all those packaged applications like ERP or CRM, they don't have foreign keys. So a good chunk of the things you actually need to understand do not have it. And many of the bespoke custom development also doesn't have. So yeah, so what we do, what we offer you is the option to define those relationships. What you do, you just click add relation. It doesn't impact your database at all. It's just the metadata. It's just information over here in Dataedo. You can show that these tables are related in a way that city is a foreign key to the city in the cities table. That way we have a relationship. That way you can visualize it with diagrams. That way when you go to the table, you can see that city column references cities. You can also go to the cities table, right, and see that on the relationship it's linked to the stores table. It's not available from the database. It's a metadata. It's a documentation you built on top in our repository, so it's safe for whatever database you have. Okay. So that's important. Another thing you can do, you can also indicate that this is a primary key. The same thing, exactly the same thing. I indicate it's a primary key, and that way I have information on primary and foreign keys. And on my diagram, I can see that it's a key, right? That's I think that's very, very powerful. That helps you write joins so much easier and so much safer now that you know tables, how tables are related. Okay, I shown you so I shown you the relationships and diagrams, so you can when you share it, it's in visual way presented so that you can actually see this in tabular mode, like person type. Yeah, that's like some sample relationship. You can see that this references over here, and you can navigate the data dictionary, and also you can see a diagram itself. So you have a technical and visual representation of documentation of your database. And the last thing, there are more things you can do with this, but I think this gives you so much. I think you can do it quite quickly. You don't have to do the whole thing. So like if you have big database, that could be overwhelming. What I would advise to do, identify maybe 1, 2, or 3 subject areas, send them to different people, and these steps there are small and manageable. Provide an introduction, assign tables, describe at least the key tables and columns, fix those names with aliases, explain relationships. Soon we will have the most automatic way of detecting those relationships, so it will actually suggest you which tables are and columns are related. Right now you have to check it on your own. Do that and you're good to share this documentation. So what you do next, you simply click wherever you are, you can click export. When you click export, you have a number of formats. You just click a few times next, right? Over here, you should select all the databases, right? Okay, I did that before the presentation, so that's what we have here. You can search it, right? So if you have cities, I've shown you. It's so much easier to actually make sense of all this. Stores. If I type in stores, I have this subject area I created before. So I think that gives you results quickly, and yeah, you can achieve a lot within just a couple of hours. And when you share it, this is just a simple HTML file. You can post it on SharePoint, Confluence, any web server. You can put it on the shared folder. And so just open the index HTML, and it's good. It's searchable. It's interactive. You can actually navigate the relationships as you go. Okay, back to my presentation. I think, yeah, that was it. I hope that was useful, and let's move on to the questions. Okay, we have a lot of questions. So Barbara asks, oh, it's not in the particular order. I need to. Okay, Adrian, would you recommend that users view the data dictionary directly in the Dataedo repository and thus get the most up-to-date view, or view a copy PDF, easier but not out of date? And another question is, when will web access arrive? Okay, that's a good question. So I would advise to share it with users in the HTML. And something I didn't mention, right now we have a desktop application. For those who don't know how our application works and what are the plans for that. So we have a desktop application, which is currently Windows, and we have this export, which is PDF, Excel, and the HTML. The HTML is designed specifically to share with people. Yes, it's true, it's not up to date, but you can click this export whenever you like, and you can automate that. You can schedule this to have it to publish it daily, or even every couple of hours. And we are releasing next month, maybe not maybe, we are releasing next month, early May, web application. It's like this HTML, but so much better. It works on the repository. It will have all those features I mentioned, which was the community. So you be able to comment and talk about specific data elements, including columns. You can have a discussion about the column. You can have a question. You will have a advanced search capabilities. So I would say early May. We have a I wouldn't call it beta, but we have an application that we share with some of the customers who would like to try it out earlier. So if you'd like to see it, please reach out to me. I'll ask my colleague, and he will provide it for you earlier if you feel like to see that. Yeah, so that's the answer. Molukan asks, any feature that will let us create module within module? I'm not sure. Plus, why are the business glossaries not part of export in Excel and PDF? Also, do you plan on having more interactive file exports like the HTML? Like the HTML, but a lot of people don't like it since we have to share them a whole lot of files. Okay, so I think part of that was responded with this web portal. Why are not business glossaries part of the export? Because business glossary, I didn't talk about that. That's a more advanced feature. It's not going to be part of the PDF. We want it to be accessible by everyone through the web. So we will have this portal. People will log in or will be logged in automatically, and then they can access search glossary and data dictionary. That's our main access way. We would like to promote soon. Brian, do you have any information on best practices for writing descriptions in Dataedo? So when you assign tables to multiple team members, their descriptions are standardized. Yeah, I think you could write a book about this. I do not know any particular standard. I wouldn't be sure it's so much important. There are some things you need to there are some things you rather don't want rather than have the standardized way. You don't know have shallow descriptions like something's called cheeseburger definition. So cheeseburger is a burger with cheese. You don't want that. So invoice date is a date of the invoice. You don't want that. You want actually people ask questions in their heads. What's the not obvious part of the descriptions? We have I've written an article about what things to consider. You could find it on the blog. I'll try to share it, send it after the webinar. There are some things people should ask. I mean, where does the data come from? Where is it used? What's the purpose of that? Is it still up to date? And these kind of these kind of questions. Yeah, and I think if they write it in a way that's understandable by other team members, that should be better than nothing. And that's a good idea to actually write something in the future about having how to describe this for something you could share with your team members so they actually know what to do. I mean, something like a checklist maybe. So I'll consider this. That's something worth doing in the future. Adrian, would you recommend that users view the data dictionary? Oh, sorry, I think I responded to that. Okay. Chandra, can a relation be established between stored procedure and the table? Like the table is getting updated through a stored procedure. Okay, good question. It cannot be done through the relationships because those relationships indicate the joins between tables. What you're referring to is maybe I can put it on the screen, is the dependencies or data flow, data lineage. So let me go to the stored procedure, and if you go to the dependencies, oh, this one doesn't, okay, that's an unlucky one. Yeah, you can see that this stored procedure uses these tables, and you can, if you go to the table, you can use the same thing. You can include this in the ED export, right? You can see that this is used by this procedure, and yeah, that's a foreign key with another table. That's one thing, that's dependency. So the information extracted from the database. Another thing we're planning, I will have a webinar on that in the future because there are there are big topics. It's not something I can cover on a short webinar. We will have a data lineage model, which will show exactly that particular procedure or ETL package gets data from these elements, and then it feeds these tables. And we'll have a report catalog as well. So it will be semi-automatic. You'll have to manually draw those links and explain things. We'll extract what we can, and then we'll produce this interactive diagram, just like I shown you the ERD diagram. The same way we'll have a data flow diagram. So you will see that this table is used by those procedures and then feeds the other tables, and then it's used on those reports which are used by those users, right? So we have like a data lineage. That's something we will be working on this year, right after we release Portal. We actually started some R&D. More on that in the future webinars. I hope you can join and you'll learn more. Tim asks, does Dataedo have a version control on table changes or data type changes? Yes, it does. We have the thing called schema changes. Yeah, let me check over here. It should be, I'm not sure if that last 7 days, not. Yeah, so you can, okay, that was the database. So let's jump into the specific, let's go to this table. You can run the same report. This feature is called schema change tracking. It's available in our enterprise plan. Yeah, so you can see You can do it on database level, table level, and column level, right? So you can see that on the last year in May, we added those fields, right? And 2 years ago, we added these fields, and this trigger was updated. We also show you the changes to the data types. I would have to find some example, but you can see before and after. You can see so data length, if you change the length, or you should change the data type. So yeah, we have that. One thing you need to remember, you need to schedule the updates. You make them run daily. You do it through a command line, so you just schedule updates. They run every day, and you'll see this report. Okay, so that's that. Anand asks, how can we show the relationship names on the relations links automatically? Relationship names. I think you're referring to. We can have the title, right? So we can even provide a description for the, for instance, like a role for this. Like let's not think about much about this. Over here, you can show title like this. It's not visible in HTML right now, but in Portal it will be. So you do it like that. So you can explain the role this relationship plays. I hope that answers your question. Okay, Luis asks, we have a server A with a dozen SQL DBs. Can I aggregate all the DB documentation into one Dataedo folder, i.e. at the server name level? Yeah, that's a good idea. We do not have that currently. They are all visible like that. So we do not have this in desktop and HTML, and we do not have that in the portal. But it's one on our nice to have things for the future, to actually group this by server or engine, for instance, like show all the Oracle databases and things like that. I think we would like to introduce it at some point, since we would like to encourage teams to have a lot of data in the catalog. Right now, it's not the highest priority. We want to focus on all the new things like community and data lineage, report catalog. There's so much we will build over the next couple of months. Yeah, so that's on our nice to have list. And again, is there any limit on the number of tables in 1 year diagram? Yes, there is. There's a reason for that. I think it's 30. I don't remember. The reason for that is that we, I believe, that there's a limit for a human brain to actually comprehend information, and the whole point of this tool is to tell stories and do not produce documentation just for the sake of producing documentation. So explain how things work. I don't. If you show too many elements on one diagram, I think it's counterproductive. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are cases where that would be useful. We in the portal we'll have another approach. We're still working on it, where it will be more interactive, where you can actually, when you click on the table, you can see their relationships, and so like navigate through the have it like dynamic and navigate through the network rather than to have a static view. And we are thinking also about the aggregation of tables. So maybe maybe we could show how the modules are related between one another. So have a top level view of the data landscape rather than see all the tables on one screen. So that's the answer. Okay, Filipe. Is SQL Server base table column? You have column properties with description. Is it possible to recover information in Dataedo? Oh yeah. So you have descriptions in your server, right? So you have provided a comment or description depending on the engine. Dataedo reads this information, but only the first time, because Dataedo is the master. So if you have provided, somebody has provided the descriptions in your database, and you have those those comment descriptions. When you import the first time, we scan that, and if that's empty and somebody added that in the server, that's also being imported, but it's never overwritten. So Dataedo becomes a master. So you can safely ask people to document in Dataedo and click import without fear of being of losing your work. So we read this information. Okay. Mark, assigning owner, I believe you meant to assigning owners. I'm not sure what you mean, but if you were speaking about specific module or table, then we have just one person to be choosing from. You can have multiple owners in your, if that's what you mean, you can have like 100 people working on this. So yeah, you can have a list of and actually make many people work together at the same time. But this model assumes one owner, and I've heard that from Nicola Ashcam. She's a data governance coach and guru, and she said you should never have more than one owner per object. It doesn't work. I feel the same way, so hope that's an answer. Barbara, and also important is the flow of the data from one system database to another. I don't know what this end refers to. Yes, that's something I talked about. Yes, we will have that flow. That's very important. That's an important aspect of the documentation. I think the most important, the most crucial for your success with working with data is the understanding of the data itself, the static structure. So the data dictionary. I think this is step number one. Or maybe those topics or this higher level description, but of the static view of the data, I think that's the most important thing you should start with. Data lineage is very important, and it comes later. It will also come later in Dataedo. It will be sometime over the next couple of months. If you'd be interested, make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter, and we will invite you to the webinar specifically on that. Okay. Let me see the answers, your questions. Question from Tim. I don't think I've answered that one. We have a standard where we have a row, foundation, and staging data layers. Is there an easy way to copy down the documentation for column in the row layer to the same column of staging, foundation and staging layer? Yes. We have built this. There was not a lot of traction. There were not many. Maybe we didn't publish, advertise it too heavily. You can actually copy that. You can have. So in your case, if you have different environments, you can have the same structure of documentation in all of them, each connected to specific the actual database, and then we have this copy description. It's still in beta. In beta, we introduced it a couple of months ago. I advise you do it on the some test environment first. It should copy all your descriptions and also modules, diagrams, and so on. So you can, in your case, that would be a row, right? So we can document row, then copy this to foundation and staging layer. Yeah, I hope that's what you meant with your question. Okay, Andre asks is there a way to replicate the documentation data to SQL from Dataedo. Yes, it works for, if you click export, you have the export description custom fields back to the database, and that pushes that pushes those descriptions from Dataedo back to your server. So if, say, some other BI tool uses this data, you can publish this and overwrite. However, it works just for selected engines. It works for SQL Server. I think it works for Oracle. It doesn't work for MySQL and some other databases. For MySQL, it doesn't do that because it's based on the alter table command, and we would hate to push alter table commands to your database. That's too risky. Yeah, we don't want that. For the other engines, it's a very light command called comment on or something like that, when you actually provide the metadata without any impact on the actual structures. We would hate to do that. We want it to be safe. So yeah, if you're using SQL Server, then yes, you can push those descriptions back. Okay, Team asks, what's the best way to document a column that has multiple meanings? C, collect, D, deliver, and so on. So do you paste in, can you paste in screenshots or linked attachments? Okay, so that's a good question. This is called reference data. We are also planning, that's one of the many things we are planning to build, reference data management. In right now, we can do it quite easily. I don't know the example, but what you have just written here, you can, yeah, let's say, yeah, we have a status column. Let's see something. Yeah, okay, doesn't matter. Let's say name. Name is like a lookup table, right? So you just type it like that, like approved, right? And so on. In the future, we would like to have like a list of values for a separate table for a column, where you and there will be a few ways to actually feed this table. One would be to more advanced, to scan the data, list the distinct values, and for each value you'll be able to produce to add this description, so code and description, the meaning. You could paste from Excel or something like that, and you could type in manually. So that's something on long-term roadmap. Right now we can do it as simply as that. If you ask if it's to paste screenshots in this field, it's not possible. But over here, yes, sure, go ahead. Let's try this actually. Right, I have, so we are like in the matrix. I just pasted the screenshots over here. Yeah, you can paste it over here. And the links, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be like a link, but if you right, if you type in the URL, I think in HTML this will be converted to the link. So you cannot paste a attachment like a file, but you can host it somewhere and just paste a link over here. If you're using OneDrive or something like that, Google Drive, then just paste a link and you're good. Philippe's second question: do you have bases? You have two bases, train and train 2, under the same server. The tables are 99% the same. I documented the first base and then would like to recover automatically the description made for right. What's the best way? Yeah, I think this. Yeah, I'm saying I think because it was so long. I haven't used this copy descriptions. That's one thing. Yeah, we advise to, because that's in beta. I think you can just simply paste the same server and then a database. That way, that will overwrite those descriptions in the. So database 1 will copy to database 2. You need to be very, very careful not to do it the other way around, and always back up the repository. It's you use SQL Server Management Studio just to create a backup. It just takes a couple of clicks, but I would really suggest, because you don't want to, do it the other way around. Another option is we have a script somewhere, because it's based on the database, that can actually do this copy. Yeah, so if you need that, reach out to our support, and we will guide you and provide a script. Well, we have it's hour and 5 minutes. I'm really happy to answer all your questions. So let's stay as long as you have any questions. Okay, 3 more to go. Mark, I was referring to the agenda you presented, page with 3 assigned owner. Oh, okay, that's about the owners versus owner. A spelling issue. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not a native speaker. I was in a hurry. Yeah, I hope you get what I try to say. Sorry for any spelling mistakes. Okay, Louis asks, documenting SSIS, so SQL Server Analysis Services, coming this year. Hopefully, yes. We are doing. We have a separate person who is right now doing research and extraction on exactly that. And I know there were some problems with that. We will focus on MongoDB first. So this year, I would definitely, 95%. Yes, that's one of the. It's not supported right now because it requires some hierarchy. Right now, the hierarchy is very flat, so you have just a list of columns like in relational databases. We want to add support for JSON files, so like MongoDB. We would like to support semi-structured files like CSV as well, and read that. We did some R&D, so we have like a lot of those things we tried and are in our R&D pipeline, and they will most likely hit the production version in a couple of months. I really want to have the SSIS database soon, so right after MongoDB, I think we'll focus on that. So hard to tell, but maybe 3 months. Barbara says thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Okay, that's all the questions. Thank you for staying so long. It's been over an hour. Really happy that you're interested in this topic. I really hope that was useful for you, that you can actually transform your operations to remote, and not just improve the remote work, but work in general, so that the situation we have right now can actually help you become better organized in the future when you go back to your offices. So I wish everyone to stay healthy. I wish everyone everything goes well for you, and I hope to see you in some future webinars. If you have any questions, reach out to me or use chat function on our website. We're happy to help you with any questions you have. And make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter, and that way we can see each other on future webinars. So thanks everyone. Have a good day.